People often assume that money changes because of arithmetic, that earning more simply means having more, saving more creates a larger balance, and investing means watching numbers slowly increase over time. Yet beneath the visible calculations, there is another process operating quietly in the background, and it has less to do with money itself than with perception. Two people can earn similar incomes, live in similar cities, and even possess similar opportunities while experiencing completely different relationships with money. One person feels trapped by time, constantly reacting to expenses and deadlines, while another begins to feel a degree of flexibility and control. The difference frequently does not begin with a bank balance. It begins with a psychological shift in the way time is interpreted.
My name is Grayson, and I want to show you why two people with similar incomes can end up experiencing money in completely different ways. Because the real difference often has less to do with dollars and more to do with how they think about time.
Imagine waking up on a Monday morning, knowing that your alarm is not merely an alarm, it is a countdown. The day ahead is already divided into obligations before it has even begun. The commute, the meetings, the tasks, the deadlines, the errands after work, and the calculations about upcoming bills already occupy mental space before breakfast arrives. Many people live within this structure so consistently that it becomes invisible. It feels normal because repetition has a way of disguising systems. Yet over time, something subtle begins to happen. Hours stop feeling like pieces of life and start feeling like units of exchange.
This is where the psychological relationship between money and time begins changing. For many individuals during early adulthood, money appears as a direct reward for effort. Work for 8 hours and receive payment. Work for 40 hours and receive a larger payment. Work overtime and receive more still. The equation seems straightforward because it is measurable. Time goes in, money comes out. But human psychology rarely remains attached to simple equations. Eventually, the mind starts adapting. Rather than seeing money as a resource, people often begin seeing time itself as money. This sounds similar on the surface, but the distinction becomes important because it changes behavior in ways that are often difficult to notice. Behavioral economists have spent decades studying how people mentally organize financial decisions. Humans rarely treat money as completely interchangeable. A bonus feels different from a salary. Cash feels different from digital payments. Lottery winnings feel different from earned income. The numbers may be identical, but the mind creates separate categories.
Time operates in similar ways. We begin assigning emotional value to different hours of our lives. Some hours feel expensive. Others feel wasted. Others feel productive. Once that process begins, financial decisions become psychological decisions. Imagine two people receiving a free afternoon. One person immediately feels discomfort because no direct productivity is attached to those hours. The other experiences freedom. The physical situation is identical, but internally, the experience is entirely different. The shift occurs because many people unconsciously move from measuring money in currency to measuring everything in labor equivalents. A $20 purchase no longer feels like $20. It becomes 1 hour of work. A vacation becomes weeks of labor. A new device becomes days of effort.
At first, this can appear useful because it creates discipline. Translating expenses into work hours can reduce impulsive spending and encourage awareness. Yet, if taken too far, something unusual begins happening. People stop purchasing with money and start purchasing with pieces of their future time. Now, imagine an ordinary purchase. Perhaps someone buys coffee every workday. The immediate calculation may seem simple. $5 does not appear significant. Yet, after converting it into labor time, then annual frequency, then opportunity cost, the purchase suddenly feels psychologically larger. This does not mean buying coffee is wrong. The important point is understanding how the brain starts reconstructing decisions. Money itself becomes less important than what money represents.
And this is where a significant shift often begins appearing among people who change their financial behavior over long periods. The shift is not simply about earning more. It is not merely about investing or budgeting. It is about gradually moving from selling time toward protecting time. This transition can sound abstract, but its effects become visible in surprisingly ordinary situations. Someone may initially choose work opportunities based entirely on immediate pay. Later, they may begin considering flexibility, autonomy, stress levels, commute duration, or future learning opportunities. The question quietly changes from how much does this pay to what does this cost in terms of life? That question operates differently because it recognizes a mathematical reality that money cannot fully capture.
Time has unusual characteristics compared with financial resources. Money can disappear and later return. Income can increase. Savings can rebuild. Losses can sometimes recover. Time does not operate this way. Economists refer to opportunity cost as the value of alternatives given up when choosing one option over another. Every financial decision contains hidden trade-offs, but time decisions often contain even larger ones because alternative outcomes disappear permanently. Imagine spending 3 hours each day commuting. Over 1 year, that becomes more than 1,000 hours. Viewed individually, a commute may feel small. Viewed collectively, it begins resembling months of waking life. The mathematics become surprising because humans naturally struggle to perceive cumulative effects. Small, repeated actions often remain invisible because our brains evolved around immediate environments rather than long-term statistical patterns. This same pattern appears throughout financial history.
People frequently underestimate compound interest because growth feels slow at first. They underestimate debt accumulation because small payments appear manageable. They underestimate habits because daily repetition feels insignificant. Time follows similar rules. Small, repeated losses become large, invisible systems. The psychological shift occurs when people stop viewing money as the ultimate target and begin viewing it as a tool for creating choices. The goal becomes less about accumulation itself and more about reducing unnecessary constraints. Historically, this pattern appears repeatedly across different societies and economic periods. During industrial expansion, many workers exchanged increasing amounts of time for rising wages because economic structures rewarded labor volume. Later, as economies became more service and information-driven, flexibility itself began acquiring value. Today, many discussions about wealth focus heavily on visible outcomes, such as income levels, possessions, or lifestyle markers. Yet beneath these visible signals lies another metric that often receives less attention: control over time. Someone earning less but possessing flexible schedules, manageable stress, and greater autonomy may experience life differently from someone earning substantially more while feeling permanently constrained. This does not suggest income lacks importance. Financial stability matters deeply because resources create security and options. But the psychological shift involves understanding that money and time are not competing goals. Money often functions as a mechanism that changes how time can be used. People sometimes imagine financial progress as reaching a finish line where stress disappears and certainty arrives. Real life usually behaves differently. Responsibilities expand, expectations change, new challenges appear. But perspectives can evolve. The shift begins quietly when people stop asking only how much something costs and begin asking what role it plays inside a larger system of life. Because eventually, many discover that money itself was never entirely the thing they were pursuing. What they were often pursuing was flexibility,
security, calm, choice, and ownership over their attention. Money simply happened to be the visible language through which those deeper goals were expressed. And once that distinction becomes clear, time stops feeling like something being spent and starts feeling like something being designed.
And perhaps that's the real takeaway. The goal was never simply to accumulate more money. It was to gain more flexibility, more security, more choice, and greater control over how your time is spent. So before you leave, I'd like to ask you a question. If someone offered you a higher income tomorrow, but it required significantly more of your time, freedom, and peace of mind, would you take it? Or would you choose greater control over your time, even if it meant earning less? I'd love to hear your thoughts, so let me know your answer in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please consider leaving a like and sharing it with someone who might benefit from it. And if you're interested in more videos about financial psychology, wealth building, behavioral economics, and the hidden systems that shape our financial lives, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future content. Until next time, take care.